Okay. Holographic Dreamers, hey, welcome to a very special session today where we're going to talk about the Hololens 2. So we're at the Microsoft Reactor in San Francisco for a workshop on porting our apps on the Hololens 2. So I'm going to do a little review and I'll go in as much detail as I can for the HoloLens 2 here. So it's a great device in general and very comfort. So we're going to go over the hardware, then I'll go over the, let me check what I had in my notes, the features, like the new features that are appearing there and why they matter compared to HoloLens 1 mainly. I won't go into the general and focus very specifically on the new features, so you can get a sense of what's new and where the value is. Then I'll go into their development kit, which is called MRTK, Mixed Reality Toolkit number 2. And then we'll go over a little conclusion of where we at with this device. So let's get started with the hardware. So first, it's pretty sleek hardware, still very good design. Remember the HoloLens 1 design. So the wear can work with the glasses. I'm just removing them because I don't need them for vision correction. So I'm going to wear it. You just put it on your head. You have a little dial in the back here, so you can just dial it back in the back. So with that dial, you'll be able to adjust it so it fits well. You can even remove it like that and put it back. And the comfort, like there's no more like big pressure like we had on the previous device, and you can pull up the visor, which is really cool. So visor up, visor down. So those are really the new amazing feature that we have in there. And in terms of the hardware, it's well balanced. You have probably the battery pack here, some CPUs as well, and all the sensing CPU here in the front, and all the cameras. And also one key feature that's very subtle is the microphones. You don't see them there, but there's like little microphones here. It's very discreet, very subtle. There's microphone holes here, here, and here. And I think there's another one on the side here. And then there's the speakerphones. So speakerphones have evolved even better than the version that we had on the HoloLens 1, where they're much thinner. They're part of inside the band, but they still give the same spatial audio and presence of audio in there. So I have to say something on the hardware, and then we're going to, yeah, I think that's all I have to say on the hardware. Looks really professional, looks polished, looks strong, doesn't feel cheap, so feels sturdy. Hopefully it will be as sturdy as the HoloLens 1. And I have to say the HoloLens 1, we have them for more than 4 years and they're still going. They're getting a little bit old, but for a device of that type, it's pretty good. So I hope that those HoloLens 2 have the same capabilities. So in terms of the features, so what's new? Other than the new hardware and the form factor that I've put in there, I don't know what this is. Oh, there's a little thing here. I've not seen that before. Maybe to add attachments. So other than the hardware, the key new features that we have in this device is eye tracking and I would say hand gestures. And then there's an overall, the comfort is really the big improvement. Then there's eye tracking and hand gestures. So what it means with hand gestures is that initially we originally only had a few hand gestures. So I'm going to go over and show you some of those features in terms of the hand gesture and the eye tracking through the app that's built in. So there's a MRTK app that's built in there. So I'm going to try that and give you some information for that. So let me just log in actually to the device. I need a little bit of okay. I thought I was getting really good with my fingers here, but it's getting not as good as I thought. There we go. That's much better. There we go. So let me grab app MRTK example. Put that here. Okay, so in terms of, I'm going to move back, turn it on, and you guys can at that point see. I'm going to turn on the recording so you guys can see what I'm seeing at that point. Okay, so let me do this. Give me control of my hands again. There we go. So you can see I'm inside and I have all those options. So I'm going to show you the end interactions example, and they're here. So it's going to show you with the ends what we can do. So you see my hands now, they're like composited with the end tracking. You can see that it's pretty efficient. Technically, you could get the 5-finger to be active. By design, they choose only the index to be active. You see this little blue dot. So by design, it's only the blue dot that's going to be active in all those interactions. So I can I move this closer? Oh, okay, that's going to be fine. You'll see me doing it. So I'm pressing those keys here with my hands. I hope it's recording the audio as well. The buttons can be pressed. I can press different kind of buttons here. And I can grab. Oh, no, that wasn't grabbing. Those are just touch interactions. I think I can pinch and move. How do I move those? I forgot. Oh yeah, I pinch them and I move the sliders. So you have all those interactions that you do with your hands. And as a grab, I got that cup. I'm holding it like I should hold a cup. There's other elements I can use, So there's a bounding box around each of those objects. They can help me to, when I have it selected, or maybe not on this one. Maybe this one is the bounding box. You see, okay, now they're working. So this is the bounding box, so I can rotate, and it moves around. There we go. You can see better on this side. I'm grabbing this again with me. So those are kind of all the gestures you can do. It's like very natural, handing, grabbing, moving around, and you have those helpers that help you work with it. So like grabbing this one, gets bigger, put it over there. So that's the gist of it. There's another cool feature with the ends is that it's also compatible with the 2D apps because we're not all 3D yet. Let me put that over there. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna grab this here so I can show it to you. So I'm putting this around here, and you see, imagine like it's a web browser. So I can move with my finger and scroll with it. You can do horizontal. Well, this is only one. I think I can zoom in also. Unzoom. So it works like you have a touch screen where you're in the air. So you have a plane and you're using it as a touch screen, like a flat touch screen, and you can do all those manipulations there. I think that's pretty cool and fairly clever to keep a sense of. I can throw things away. I wish I could. So those are all the general interactions, and I think it's summarized pretty well. You can probably find a lot more details on the web. The other part of it, so you can touch. Also, you can do all those things also far away. So you see all my hands, I have those little kind of like laser, that shows me, and I have access to all those elements that were also similar on Hololens 1 and 2. On Hololens 1, and we have them back on Hololens 2. So all the feature, like this one, for example, that I just did with my hands by grabbing it, I can do it far away with a distance. So that makes it compatible with Hololens 1, makes it compatible with mixed reality controller for VR, and others type of element that was there. So that's the two type of interactions. There's called near interactions, where I can touch, and there's the far interactions. And everything is compatible, again, with the previous behavior that we had with Hololens 1. So that's for the interactions, and I'm going to show you now. I'm going to go back to the list of example. I'm going to show you the other big feature other than the end interaction that's really cool is the eye tracking. Oh, no, that's the heat map. Don't think I need the heat map eye tracking as an example right now. Let me go back home. I just want to show, there's another example that's cool for the eye tracking that I liked a lot. Eye tracking, target selection, eye tracking navigation. Let's do target selection. I think that's a good example. We have like here a selection of balls, and when I look at one of them, it starts turning. So like the green one right now, it's turning because I just looked at it. So when my eyes are pointing to one of them, it actually selected. So it can be pretty fast to, select something, and the detection is extremely fast. The eye tracking is one of the most impressive features in that device today. So I can say select, explode. Oh, yes, it did explode. Explode. So here's the exercise. I'm not turning my head, just looking. Explode. Explode. I'm making those little things explode. 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 So there's a significant, well, that's one example for the eye gazing. There's other ones I can show you guys. And this is, that's the target navigation. This is a good one too. So that's to select, to view things, so your eyes can help on improving the selection. So what I'd like, zoom in. Oh, so here I'm moving the map with my eyes. I'm looking on the corners, and because it detects where I'm looking, it's going to turn. The other cool feature they've done is for the text reading. And when I start reading, it automatically scrolls down based on where my eyes are for the last sentence I'm looking at. And that's fairly efficient. It's actually an amazing usability effect. So yeah, so those are the eye tracking, and we can use those for much more improved interactions on elements. Come to me. I'm looking at this little spaceship. Come to me. Like the side of the globe, and it will automatically rotate around its vertical axis. That didn't work. I think it's because there's through something, so my eyes are not capitalizing it on it. But those examples here are not working for me. So overall, this is the key example I wanted to show you guys in terms of the features. The two main features that I really like. The other really good features, like I said, I mentioned all those microphone and audio system. I was in a call with Special today, yesterday, and we're having this conference call with multiple Hololenses together. I was in a very noisy room. I was in an open space. Everybody was talking. There was loud music on the speakers. They were not hearing anything. They were just hearing my voice. So the noise cancellation here is awesome. So it's awesome for two reasons. One, it's awesome for live conferencing with others, but it's really, really good for using Cortana or other voice recognition system or voice recognition softwares, because then it detects your voice really well, which was, in terms of interaction before, a big hurdle. Like you're in a noisy environment, like when I use the Bose and I try to talk to them, or I use my focals and I try to talk to them and I'm in a noisy environment, they don't get it. Here, they really made a special attention to do this system of noise cancellation and make it work. So theoretically, what they said, it could sustain a blender, for example. So let me stop the recording now. Here we go. So it could be as good as a blender in terms of running beside you, and the noise cancellation will detect it and avoid it. So it's really spatial noise cancellation from all the tops, the bottoms, and those microphones will detect only your voice directly from there. So yeah, they go from these little things. There's those little dots in there. I don't know what they are for. Maybe for the eyes. Those might be the eyes detectors here. So overall, yeah, impressive device. The capabilities of it, and like in Hololens 1, the quality of the end gestures, the quality of the eye tracking is really accurate and really good. And on top of this is the software that they provide for developers. So that's the last part I'm going to go over. I'm going to show you a few examples on this, because I'm very impressed by that as well. So let me leave the glasses here, put my day glasses. And let's go into showing you off first the documentation on their website. So I'm going to show you that so you guys can see it. So here we go. So they have on their website a fair amount of content related to the design. So they show you the core concept and they go in depth, and you have all those examples in terms of what you should use. For example, what they call holographic frame just means that they have a small field of view and you need to manage around it. It's a strange name for it, but that's what it means. But that's really what it is. There's a challenge to work with. The field of view is not what you see in TVs. It's still fairly small. It's still not full field of view, but it's not as annoying as it was before on Hololens 1. Just the increased size make it much better. It feels much more like when you are in the Magic Clip, for example, where there's a small field of view, but you don't really like get annoyed by it. But in terms of the documentations, they really have a lot of good feedback in theirs in terms of best practices. So it's been like a few years in the work from the Hololens one, from different feedback they got from developers and people using and creating. There's a fair amount of content there in terms of best practices. So those best practices are not just limited to what the device can do and use those practices because that's what's best for that device. It's also more general best practices in terms of creating really good three-dimensional, immersive, and interactive experiences for this new human computing interface. So those are very valuable, and there's an amount of cumulative work here that's pretty good. So that's for the design and all the features that goes with that design and on it. So again, I didn't go over everything on Hololens 2, just what's new and what we would think would be reasonable to highlight in half an hour and to go through. So the other thing I want to highlight is their MRTK. So that's for the developers. When you go in the develop sections, even on the Microsoft website, you have a lot of documentation there for the Unity system and everything related to Unity. But then you can go directly on the GitHub for the mixed reality toolkit, and then you get even more detailed information on how to get all those features work and interact with each other. So I'm going to go, the interactable is one of the most common thing you're going to use in there, and there's all those details on how it works in Unity and how to set it up, how to work through it. So the documentations are in depth. I think I've not seen as much documentation in terms of features for this type of holographic device. I think it's really well documented. There's a fair amount of really cool content there. So another thing I'm going to show you guys is in our app, we currently have an app that's why we're here. We're porting our app to Hololens 2. So I'm going to show you some of those elements from the Holo toolkit and how they look like in Unity itself. So let's go into that. I'm not going to go too long in there because there's a lot, but I'm going to show you one of the key design principles they used. So I'm recording here from my Unity 3D. This is our project. So it's migrating from HoloKit 1 to HoloKit Mixed Reality Toolkit. And here's the key element of the Mixed Reality Toolkit I want to highlight here. And it's in this section here. There we go. Here we go. Here it is. I'm going to make that as big as I can to show you guys. So this is the key element. They have all those presets, and there's a lot of them, and it affects a lot of the different parts of the toolkit and the SDK, and kind of like enable some high-level abstractions for. I think the objective is not to be only HoloLens, it's to be able to work with the mixed reality headsets and even other type of AR headsets. So it's a more agnostic framework. They're very open to that. I think at this point, create a framework that would work for a lot of other devices. And then in terms of those configurations and elements you have on all those presets, it's very rich. A little bit overwhelming when it's new to it because there's really a lot actually. But it's a way of getting those configuration work pretty well, and it's been very impressed in terms of what we could do from there. So out of those presets, everything you've seen earlier, I was showing to you, all those touch element I was touching, all those are part of the examples. So you have a mixed reality example, toolkit examples. In there you have a set of like I can take the end interactions I just showed you, and interaction example. And if I load that up, you'll see the scene that was on a few seconds ago. Here we go. Here we go. You see all the elements, the keyboard and the screen I was moving around, all those elements I was manipulating. Everything is in there, and you can have access to all those elements and actually, work with them. Get inspired, and get the content, figure out how they work. They link back to a lot of prefab that are already done, so you can actually go back to those prefabs and reuse them in your own project. So not only the documentation is very rich, not only they have an Toolkit SDK that covers all the features from the end gestures to the speech recognitions to the eye tracking, all those things are already abstract. We already have prefabs and you can use them directly. You don't have to write everything from scratch like we had to do from a lot of other devices, where they just give you, hey, here's the hardware, figure out, do your own recast, figure out how things work. Even some of them, just figure out your own gestures. Those are really difficult for most developers. Here, it's all pre-done, predefined, very easy to access, very easy to use. So it's very fast to get into your project, get it working, and get it executed. So that's very impressive. I can double that because we worked on the early like script that were the base of what was futurely called Holokit around 2015 with Brandon's team at the Holo Academy at Microsoft, and we were going over those. And at the time, there was so much work that needed to be done for almost anything we wanted to do. Here, they package everything for you. For example, I was working this morning on the pressing button. So to press a button, there's a lot that goes into it. You have your finger that gets close to it, a shader will highlight it. Then you press on the button, then the button deformed to show the pressure, are you pressing into it? And that pressure into that button, then when you go through it, then there's the triggers of all those events and all the audio that's triggered with it. Before we had to program all that, detect all that ourselves. Here, you have this prefab that's already done and does that for you. You can customize it to your own icons and text and voice command around it. So it makes things really, really simple and really fast to programs. So in terms of covering all the features of Hololens 2, they have already this old toolkit that's pretty well featured. And that's a good segue to our conclusion here. We said the Martica is the most advanced toolkit I've seen so far for AR, augmented reality. We have Oculus and Vive have very good toolkits for VR, but this one in terms of augmented reality is probably the best one I've seen so far in terms of compatibility and expandability. HoloKit is supposed to work as well on HoloLens and the mixed reality tools, and as well as HoloLens 1. So we're testing that, and so far it's been pretty good. We've been porting our app. We have now everything working for HoloLens 1 and HoloLens 2 at the same time. We still have a lot of bugs because we still have work to do, but to fix that. But overall, it seems like the promise of make it one toolkit that will work for multiple devices is almost there. So we're excited about that capabilities. Now on the conclusion, yes, the key conclusion I would say is that those new features that comes in the HoloLens 2 are really rich and very valuable. I think we're going to get a lot out of that, and it's going to be very successful device. The strategy, and there's element in there. For example, this device has a lot of pre-done process within Microsoft, and in terms of certification for enterprise, which was something that was missing a lot for HoloLens 1. To get that device through enterprise approval process for IT in large companies, the process now is really well defined. There's a lot of specs. There's all the details for those companies to get that working. So this is something that's going to change a lot, because this is going from experimentation with HoloLens 1 to really like deploying in scale on enterprise for key use cases that we have for holographic now. So, and the device is ready for that, and those approval process will work and going to make that much easier for companies to adopt solutions. Also, Microsoft has been pushing for solutions with those devices, so they're not asking to write from scratch the software like we used to do. Now, what they expect from, for example, the partners that we have now is, what they expect from us is to come up with a product, and we sell the product to their customers. And that product is a software product. They're not into the phase, oh, you're going to create a proof concept. It's still possible, but it's not the objective. Now it's solution ready, which means that you buy the headset and you buy the software that's going to give you right away a return on investment. So that's the objective for HoloLens 2. Now the big drawback that we have, it's been announced in, I think, April last year, even earlier, maybe, April this year, and the device still doesn't have an official release date. We know they're going to give us a release date within the next 60 days, but we don't know when, and we don't know actually when will be the date of the official release of the device, where people can actually get their first orders. So you can pre-order on the website right now, but you cannot get the device, and very, very, very few people have the device. You can come here to the accelerator at Microsoft, on specific days where they let you program with it and learn with it. There's workshops like the one we're doing where we have a lot of mentors. They're helping us figure out porting our apps and things like this. All those exist, and there's a way to access and get access temporary to the device. And those are not final units, so that's why I didn't comment on everything in there. There's things that we're not really happy, and we'll confirm those when we get the real device. There's weird stuff, but for us, I think they're just part of the fact that those are not final units. They're development units and first batch. So the manufacturing is going to go, and when the real factoring, we'll get the real device, and from there we'll be able to do our final comments. But in the meantime, our frustration for us and for a lot of our customers is the availability of the device based on a non-set date and kind of a waiting state they've been put us on for the past 6 months now. And other than that, I think we have a lot of open expectation for the device, and that we will see that device on the market very soon, and that's going to be very exciting for us to program on it and create a lot of projects. Compared to all other devices, I think it compares, and it's in some ways better than the Magic Leap, because there's a lot in terms of what the oh, there's some scratch here. There's a lot in there that is much more, I would say, precise, like the eye gazing and the hand gesture are more precise than what we have on Magic Leap. But it's maybe just time for the Magic Leap to update the software to catch up on that. I'm not sure it's a sensor or hardware issue. So I think they compare really well. The wear and the comfort compared to Magic Leap, there's no question about it. You have nothing to put on your belt. There's no wire. Just put it on your head and slide. So I think there's no comparison there in terms of the wear of it. So I think for now it's the best device on the market when it will be on the market. For now it's not on the market, so the best device is still the Magic Leap. But when this one is on the market, I believe that it will be the best device on the market unless something else come online before. On the other side, Holographic Dreamers, thanks a lot for going that far with me in this presentation. I will have much more detail on that when we'll get the real device in our hands, and we'll do another review in depth. But this is to give you an overview of what's coming and really what we like and what we think is going to be very useful in terms of changing the holographic space. Holographic Dreamer, thank you, and follow us on YouTube. Thanks. Bye.